Welcome to Big Papa Rob's podcast, Story Rewind, The Missing. I'm Big Papa Rob. Each of my stories are about one of the many missing people out there. I rewind the story of a missing person in hopes that someone will hear this story and can share information to help find these missing persons. There is always someone who knows something that can help find these missing people. The story I have today is about Morgan Aryn Bauer. She went missing from Atlanta, Georgia, February 25th, 2016, at the age of 19. She had just moved to Atlanta from out west on February 12th, 2016. As you may know, it's been a few weeks since my last episode. I took a little time off to get caught up on stuff around the house after the holidays. I'm back and I will try to do a new story each week, releasing it on Fridays. Now let's rewind the story of Morgan Aryn Bauer. She was born on April 13th, 1996, in Memphis, Tennessee, to Sherry Keenan. Morgan grew up in Aberdeen, South Dakota, graduating from Aberdeen Central High School in 2014. Morgan's mother describes her as a free spirit, charismatic that commands the room when she entered, and also described her as gentle-hearted. In 2015, she moved to Philadelphia with her high school sweetheart, but the relationship didn't work out. After about a month, she moved back home to live with her mother. This didn't work out very well either. Morgan wanted to party and do her own thing. Her mother told her that she had to follow the rules, or she could go move in with her grandmother or find her own place. Morgan wasn't happy about this and was mad at her mom. At the end of January, beginning of February 2016, Morgan was arrested for outstanding tickets and her mother bailed her out. By this time, they were on speaking terms again, and Morgan had lost her ID around this time as well, and had told her mother that she and her roommates were moving to Atlanta and wanted Sherry to drive her to Minneapolis to catch a plane. Sherry wasn't happy about this move, and the story just didn't make sense. She had told her mom that the roommates were driving to Atlanta, but Morgan was going to fly. When Morgan was trying to replace her ID, she wanted her mother to give her copies of the birth certificate she needed and copies of her Social Security card. Sherry told her no in hopes to discourage this move, and that if she was adult enough to move to Atlanta on her own, she could go to the courthouse and get copies of the birth certificates and get her ID on her own. Morgan wasn't happy about this response and actually called the police on her mother. The police told Sherry that she could not keep those documents from Morgan, so Sherry ended up giving Morgan the documents. And again, the relationship is strained as time approached for Morgan to leave for Atlanta. On February 11th, 2016, a friend drove her 262 miles from Aberdeen to Minneapolis, Minnesota airport, arriving just before midnight. On 6 a.m. of February 12th, this is where she took a flight to Atlanta, Georgia. Morgan arrived in Atlanta with $20 to her name that she borrowed from her friend. With that said, she was waiting on her tax return to deposit in her account, but unfortunately, this doesn't appear to have happened. Sherry and Morgan were still not talking, but Sherry could see that Morgan was still actively posting on social media till February 25th. One of her last posts stated that she was working at Tease, which was a strip club in Atlanta. One of Morgan's friends came to Sherry around March 12th, telling her that she hadn't heard anything from Morgan since February 25th, and was very concerned because she always heard from her almost every day. She then called the Atlanta police to report her daughter missing, but it wasn't that easy. They told her that she would have to prove that Morgan actually arrived in Atlanta. So Sherry started backtracking Morgan's steps, and she was able to find the friend that took Morgan to the airport and found out the departure information to track down the flight that she was on. Sherry also found out that Morgan had lied about the moving to Atlanta with the roommates, and discovered that she had met some people on Craigslist and was going to be cleaning their house for room and board till she got a job. Morgan's friend told Sherry that the night she arrived, the people she was going to be staying with went out and had a nice dinner. The next day, she came back to the house that she was staying at and found all of her stuff outside with a note saying not to come back. At this point, no one really knows what happened and that caused the people to put her out on the street. From here, she stayed in a hotel in Lawrenceville, Georgia, after meeting a guy at a gas station that helped her get a room. From here, she moved to Gainesville, Georgia, to another hotel and got a job as an exotic dancer at the top of Gainesville. On March 16th, Sherry went to Atlanta to look for her daughter. She went to the club in Atlanta that Morgan had posted on her social media about on February 25th that she said she worked at. Sherry spoke to the owner to hopefully get more information about her daughter, and Sherry had left to follow up with some other leads, and the owner called Sherry back and told her that the girl that was with Morgan on February 25th, when he had saw her last, was back at the club. Sherry quickly turned around and headed right back over to the club to talk to this girl. This girl, which I have not been able to find what this young lady's name is from back then, told Sherry that on February 25th, when they went to try to get a job at the Tees in Atlanta, you have to have a permit to work at the strip clubs. And Morgan had told her that she would pay for her permit. She also said that the night of February 25th, they went to work at Tops of Gainesville Club, and a witness at Tops of Gainesville have stated that Morgan left with this same girl at the end of the night. But after this encounter, it's very unclear what really happened. Sherry has stated that this girl has said that after they left the club, they met up with the girl's boyfriend. I've seen articles that stated that the girl and her boyfriend supposedly dropped her off at a Citgo gas station in Covington, Georgia, on the early morning hours of February 26, and she got in a green Mitsubishi Eclipse. It's also reported that the last place Morgan's phone was pinged was in Yellow River Park in Porterdale, Georgia, on February 25th. This is also the same town where the couple lived. It has been said at the time of the investigation, the police didn't thoroughly investigate this couple. Sherry has also stated that this couple made several questionable posts on Facebook right after Morgan went missing that made people think they knew more than what they were saying. The girl had posted a comment, "I am the last one you would want to lock horns with." and tagged her boyfriend in a meme that said, Bob kills people for fun. By 2017, this couple had left the state and had gone their separate ways. According to police reports, Morgan was scheduled to work at the club in Gainesville on the night of February 26, but didn't show up. This case took some wrong turns because of rumors and speculations. One of the wrong turns was caused by Morgan's sister that started to make Facebook posts stating that Morgan wasn't missing and that this was a scam by their mother to get people to donate money. This turns out to be related to issues that Morgan's sister had with their mother. There was another turn where some people pretended to be Morgan on social media using Morgan's stage name. This was proven not to be Morgan as well. These things caused so many issues in Morgan's case and caused major delays in the investigation. Over the years, there had been many discussions that she may have been a victim of human trafficking because of her work as an exotic dancer, but there was never any evidence of this found. In 2017, the police ramped up the case again with a new detective assigned, but unfortunately the case became cold again. In February of 2023, Sherry obtained a video post of from one of Morgan's friends that showed a post that was made on February 26, which was a day after they thought she had gone missing. In this video, there was a guy walking behind Morgan. The family had high hopes that this was going to be the evidence needed to find Morgan. But unfortunately, that did not turn out to be the case with this video. Again, in July 27th, 2023, the FBI, GBI, and Porterdale police searched a property in Porterdale, Georgia, and items of evidentiary interest were found, according to their news release. August 5th, 2023, Porterdale police announced that Jonathan Alexander Warren was taken into custody in Los Angeles, California, and Caitlin Goebel was taken into custody in Peoria, Illinois, in the connection of the disappearance of Morgan. Caitlin was the girl we talked about earlier that Morgan had left with on February 25th, 2016 from the Gainesville club, and Jonathan was Caitlin's boyfriend at the time. Jonathan was charged with murder, aggravated assault, concealing a death, tampering with evidence, and Caitlin was charged with concealing a death and tampering with evidence. On August 16, 2023, Caitlin was booked in the Newton County, Georgia jail, and October 9, 2023, Jonathan was finally booked in the Newton County jail. Court documents in October updated the charges for Jonathan to malice murder, felony murder, aggravated assault, tampering with evidence, concealing a death, and necrophilia. Caitlin's charges were updated to malice murder, felony murder, aggravated assault, tampering with evidence, and concealing a death. The indictment stated that the cause of death was strangulation, saying that both Jonathan and Caitlin placed their hands around Morgan's neck. The indictment goes on to accuse the suspects of burning Morgan's body after she died and destroying physical evidence. In a news release January 4th, 2024, FBI said the evidence found during the search in July were Morgan's remains, stating that bones were found in the Porterdale, Georgia property. On January 10th, 2024, Jonathan Warren entered a guilty plea to malice murder, tampering with evidence, concealing the death of another, and necrophilia. He was sentenced to life without parole. Caitlin Goebel indictment is still pending as of the time of this podcast. I wanted to talk about Morgan's mom, Sherry. She started a Missing Morgan's Facebook group in 2016 in hopes to share information about her missing daughter and to keep her daughter's information circulating. Early on, she started Missing Morgan Mondays on every Monday at 11:11 p.m. Eastern Time to meditate and pray for her daughter. Not only did she post almost daily about her daughter, she started sharing information about other missing persons, using her platform to try to help find other missing persons and a place other families of missing persons could find comfort. As of the time of this podcast, Missing Morgan had 13.1 thousand members, including myself. When I started looking into Morgan's case, I came across it on the website Uncovered, not realizing that the case had already been solved. As I continued to investigate the case, I decided I wanted to go ahead and tell this story in hopes to keep her memory ongoing. This young lady left a small town of Aberdeen, South Dakota, to move to the big city of Atlanta. Like many young people, she had big dreams and was determined to make it on her own, even though she went through hell after her first day in Atlanta. I can't help but to think about one of Morgan's tattoos that said, "Whatever you love can be taken away, so live like it's your dying day." With everything I've read about Morgan, I believe that's how she lived her life. The stories I tell about the missing, I hope arms you with new information about a missing person that might lead to finding them. Additionally, I hope that you will share information about missing persons in hopes that by sharing, it may lead to locating these people. With this particular case, I hope by sharing keeps Morgan's story alive. As with almost all missing persons cases, there is someone out there that knows something. Please come forward and contact the authorities. Once again, I'm Big Papa Rob, and this was an independent podcast called Story Rewind. Story Rewind, The Missing, is written, produced, and edited by Big Papa Rob. I couldn't do this without the support of my wonderful wife, aka Big Mama. For a donation to help me cover my operating costs, you can buy me a cup of coffee. You can find the link in my show notes or on my social media pages. Your support would be greatly appreciated. I would appreciate a 5-star rating if you listen to my podcast through Apple Podcasts. And finally, if you have a story idea, please contact me through my social media. A link to my social media accounts is listed in the show notes. I would love to hear from you. Today's music was The Shield by Hot Dope from Pixabay. This was a Big Papa Rob Podcast 2024.